Welcome back to The Heat. We're discussing next week's parliamentary elections in Israel and the alliance among Arab Israelis that could give the minority party a larger role in government. Joining us from Boston is Nadia Ben-Youssef. She's a human rights lawyer. Also with us from Haifa is Jafar Farah. He's a longtime advocate and activist for equal rights for the Arab community. And from Jerusalem, we're joined by Avraham Burg. He served in the Knesset and is a well-known author. Avraham, we've often heard that when it comes to national elections, whether it be the Israeli election or the American election, or in fact any election, all politics is local. But here in Israel, you have a different situation because one of the major issues in Israel is the relationship with Palestinians and trying to seek a peace agreement with them. So, depending on the performance of Arabs in this election, how is that going to be influenced? If the Arabs do very well, does that change the dynamic?
It's a very good question that actually addresses another one. And this is where did the occupation disappear? I mean, when you listen to leaders from left to right, from center to the peripheries, very few people, if at all, are talking about the occupation and the impossible situation in which the only democracy in the Middle East occupies a nation and a people, millions of them, against the free will. And it disappeared because of many, many reasons. And the first challenge for any new government or any new opposition, will it be government composed by people committed to peace, or will it be, again, Netanyahu right-wing one with a stronger opposition? And this is to reintroduce the Palestinian issue back into the Israeli equations. Once this done, I think there should be two significant factors towards it. The first one is the real dedication, the real motivation, the real commitment yet to be examined, yet to be tested of Mr. Herzog, the leader of the Labour Party, and the political power of the new jointed Arab list. If the jointed list will decide to play at the major league as equal without self-confinement, without withdrawing from the main process of Israeli politics, we can actually shape a new kind of a political discourse that will enforce eventually the political system to address the disappearing Palestinian problem.
Jafar, what do you make of that? And is it a fair comment to say that the number of MPs that get in on the Arab list will automatically join the coalition that belongs to Isaac Herzog?
No, I don't think that, Herzog himself declared several times that if they will win, actually, they will invite Netanyahu also to join the coalition. So I'm not sure that Herzog is planning to create a government with Meretz and other parties. I'm not sure that he will invite the joint Arab list to join his coalition. In any case, the joint Arab list declared already that they are not planning to join the list, the coalition, or even Herzog coalition, unless he will have real progress on issues related to the occupation, to the change of the legal status of the Arab community, to the fight against racism, and also real changes in the social economic situation of the Palestinian Arab community in Israel. Now, it's very important to take also the international context. The humiliation of the American administration by Netanyahu just last week, his speech in the Congress, it took this whole local election not only to the regional debate, on two-state solution on the occupation, but also to the international arena. So the American administration is actually involved, he like it or not, involved in the Israeli election, and the Israeli Prime Minister today is involved also in the American politics. Invited by the Republicans to the U.S. to D.C. His speech in the Congress and then in front of the Senate, and the whole internal debate that have been created on the Iranian issue. So the Israeli politics is not actually local politics. We may end with another regional war after this election, maybe with Iran. We just have been July and August in big war against Gaza Strip. 3,000, almost 3,000 Palestinians have been killed. So what will happen in the Israeli election will feed actually the whole regional conflict, the whole regional crisis, and it may also extend or will give a new hope, not only for the Palestinians and the Israelis, but even for the Iranians, and I think also for some people in the US, that they would like to see different discourse in the Middle East, not discourse of separation and war, but discourse of peace building.
Nadia, as we heard there, no more separation, but there are very extremist voices in Israel as well. Let's take a listen to what the Foreign Minister, Avigdor Lieberman, said just a few days ago.
I would like to say whoever's with us should get everything as they wish. But those who are against us, there's nothing to be done. We need to pick up an axe and cut off their heads. Otherwise, we won't survive here.
And what do Arabs think when they hear comments like that, sentiments like that?
What's alarming, obviously, the violent rhetoric, but that this is not, it's of course an extreme view, but the separation, the exclusion that my colleagues have spoken about is very, very deep into the Israeli public discourse. Racism is normalized. The racism and discrimination against the Arab community in Israel is an electoral boost. And so you're hearing this sort of racist, violent rhetoric because it reflects in very, very much the way that not only extreme factors are working, but generally the idea of Israel as an exclusive Jewish state that protects the rights of certain people on the basis of ethnic or national belonging and excludes or discriminates against others because they are not of that group. These racist sentiments are then symptoms of that larger issue. And I think on some level, these aren't surprising. It's shocking, absolutely, of course, and horrifying in many respects. But it's not surprising, and I think it's a natural extension in many ways of an exclusionary framework that's guiding Israeli policies and practices. So a profound transformation is necessary, where equality, human rights are protected, are elevated, and then we start dealing with these deeper issues of discrimination and entrenched racism and inequality.
And Avraham, if proof were ever needed that Israel is a diverse society, there's been these massive demonstrations in Tel Aviv against the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Why are so many Israelis unhappy with him?
I like to refer to two previous rounds. First, vis-a-vis the international, the global and the local, sometimes you have the feeling that for Prime Minister Netanyahu, Washington affairs are domestic issues. And this is part of the problem, that he is so much engaged with far away escape routes that he does not seriously deal with the internal Israeli affairs, which are the inequality, the unfairness, the racism, the tension, the violence, the crime in the streets, etc. And this is part of the feeling that the king is naked. The second goes to Lieberman. I mean, that's a shame. I mean, I have to apologize to myself that that's the individual who represents me. The only comfort I give myself is that he is so weak and is such a political impotent that even raising the axe is too difficult, too much of a challenge for him. And I have no doubt that very soon he will be something, but not a foreign minister of the State of Israel. And that brings us to the last to your last question. And this is Netanyahu is in power for so many years. He had so many opportunities to change the situation, but he decided that his strategy is conservatism. His strategy is to preserve, to keep the status quo as is, and not to move onwards. Now, the situation in the region, like so many other regions around the world, is not solid, is not frozen, is not static. And the minute you have a prime minister who has all the capabilities in the world to do everything possible for the betterment of the society and does nothing only for the betterment of himself and his family, by the end of the day, people are fed up with him. By the end of the day, people say anybody but him. I'm not at all sure that he will not be the next prime minister, but I can tell you that according to because the political ocean liner takes a longer while to stop. However, the Bibism, the time of Bibi is over. That's it. One more time. That's the last time. either this one or just the one after this one. He will not be the Prime Minister of Israel for long.
Well, we await the outcome of that election with a great deal of interest. Thanks to all of you for joining us. That's all we have time for, but the conversation continues online. Join us on CCTV America's Facebook page to comment on this or any other show, or chat with us on Twitter at CCTV_America. I'm Arnold Naidu in Washington, D.C. Thanks for watching.